Hello and welcome to Kent Tonight, live here on KMTV. I'm Finn McDermott and here are your top stories on Tuesday, the 25th of November. Speed limit lower. Villagers call for reduced limits after thousands is spent on accident repairs to Hawkenbury Bridge.
And the trouble is they're suffering as businesses. Their margins are being hit. They've got increased costs. They've got fewer customers spending less.
It's a knockout. Amateur boxing club in Maidstone celebrates revitalisation.
Yeah, I'm absolutely thrilled with the result. This is more than I could have ever imagined.
And high praise for multi-million-pound church restoration in the heart of Chatham.
The church's responsibility has always been to provide space for community, whether people are active believers or Christians or not.
Well, for our top story tonight, fed-up villagers say it's appalling that more than £100,000 has been spent on bridge repairs for damage that they say could have been entirely preventable. Hawkenbury Bridge has been shut since November 5th and remains so while work is underway to fix it. Our reporter, Kristen Hawthorne, spoke to one publican who says he's been losing £5,000 a week in trade, all because of this closure.
Through a Freedom of Information request, Kent Online found that £100,000 has been spent on repairs for the Hawkenbury Bridge over the past 5 years. Repairs that locals say could be prevented through a reduced speed limit or traffic calming measures. The Hawkenbury pub has been directly affected, with its owner, Jonathan Woodbridge, saying he's losing an estimated £5,000 a week in trade due to the continued road closures and ongoing speeding issues.
Virtually all of the damage is caused by motor cars travelling too fast, not lorries, not vans. The cost to the economy, the ball figures here are nothing compared to what it's actually costing everybody else, including us because we're closed. My own view is this could have been prevented in its totality, but this is actually scratching the surface in terms of what the true cost is.
During the summer, the pub faced a further blow to trade when a truck crashed into the front of the building. This incident prompted a petition for a reduced speed limit due to serious concerns over safety. Data shows that over the past 5 years, 94% of the repairs have been paid for by the taxpayer, leaving just 6% being covered by drivers responsible for the damage. In response to this data, a spokesperson for Kent County Council has said that repairs to Hawkenbury Bridge are essential for safety and that it seeks to recover costs from drivers responsible for damage, working with police to identify them. The council says both Headcorn and Staplehurst have listed the bridge as a priority, and while options like traffic lights have been explored, physical constraints have made smaller fixes unfeasible, though the site will continue to be reviewed. The Mayor of Maidstone Council gave me his perspective on the issue.
Unfortunately, the vast majority of traders, whether they're in services, products, businesses, artisan labourers, from electricians to plumbers, are all suffering from traffic chaos these days. And the trouble is they're suffering as businesses. Their margins are being hit. They've got increased costs. They've got fewer customers spending less. So everybody's being affected by their margins.
With the burden falling on taxpayers and businesses, and as calls for action grow louder, those affected are hoping that the worst is now behind them. But with the Christmas season well underway, many have fears that travel far beyond the road. Kristen Hawthorne for KMTV.
Next, a man in his 30s has died following a crash on the M20 this morning. Sorry for some technical difficulties there. The collision occurred as a white Mercedes lorry, a black Nissan Qashqai and a white Scania articulated lorry were travelling on the London-bound carriageway of the motorway at Lenham between junctions 9 and 8. Emergency services attended the scene and the driver of the Nissan, a man in his 30s, was confirmed to be deceased at the scene. His next of kin has been informed. Officers from Kent Police's Serious Collision Investigation Unit are carrying out inquiries and urge anyone who witnessed the incident or saw the vehicles before the collision to contact them. Apologies again for those technical issues. Next, a Maidstone amateur boxing club has been completely revitalised. Improvements include a new boxing ring, equipment and lighting, which can now enable the club to take part in competitions and invite more people to get involved. Our community reporter Henry Luck has been down to see how the club is celebrating this comeback.
Maidstone Amateur Boxing Club has just gotten a second wind, thanks to revitalisation by Golding Homes and other partners. The group has constantly been on the move and even faced the threat of closure, but now it's found a new home here at St Hilary's Hall.
So with the new ring that we've just had installed that was provided to us, we can open our club up for home shows once or twice a year or even more. Now it meets all the regulations, so we'll be able to hold events here and a little bit of amateur boxing, so we don't have to travel around Kent and hire halls. We're able to do that here.
Complete with a new boxing ring, equipment and fighting spirit, the club can now compete in tournaments and keep up its training. And of course, this boxing club, as well as giving physical benefits, also helps its members mentally.
I first joined the boxing club when I was 15 years of age, after having a hard upbringing. I joined the boxing club and Joe took me on straight away. I got involved with all the boys at the boxing club. I trained hard, became dedicated, and I wasn't before. I was kind of letting my life go a little bit, found boxing, and it got me back on track. And like I said, dedicated, and I've got passion now and goals to achieve.
Yeah, I'm absolutely thrilled with the result. This is more than I could have ever imagined. This is the first social value project that I've ever worked on before, and I initially thought that we was maybe going to do a bit of decorating here and there, but the delivery is beyond Joe's wildest dreams, and it's just so nice to make his dreams come true. And this won't just be the end for Golding Homes working with Maidstone Amateur Boxing Club. We're going to get them to support some of our older population within the Opal schemes to see if they can provide some sessions for them, and also to get some of our residents involved down at the club.
With a revamped home in its corner, Maidstone Amateur Boxing Club is hoping to deliver a knockout. Henry Luck for KMTV in Maidstone.
Next, the water quality of Kent's beaches is back in the headlines today, with new Environment Agency results revealing major improvements in some areas and ongoing problems in others. Earlier, we spoke to Lindsay Forker, the Area Environment Manager for the Environment Agency in Deal. Here's what she had to say about the result from Romney Marsh.
So every bathing water is unique, so each one's got its own catchment area, so with different pressures that feed into the water quality at the bathing water. So yeah, really disappointing that they've remained at poor this year. I know the community will be really disappointed by that, as are we. But the amount of work that we've been doing with the community groups and with the partnership did show some improved water quality results early in the season. So we're really pleased that the work has made a difference. But it was very dry earlier in the year, and as it started to get wet towards the end of the season, we started to see the results deteriorate.
Our reporter Naila Mohammed joins me in the studio now. So can you explain some of these results for us, Naila?
Yeah, so the biggest development was at Deal Castle Beach, where a year-long do not swim notice is finally being lifted. I mean, it was just this time last year, but this very same beach was rated poor according to the Environment Agency, and swimmers were very much advised to stay away from the water, and considering most of them reported feeling quite ill after swimming in those waters. Now, these new tests show a really huge improvement, and I mean, Deal has jumped from this poor category to good, which is really significant according to the Environment Agency. I mean, Deal's mayor himself has very much praised the community for their continuous push for change to make these waters cleaner, to make them better. And he's also related these new ratings, equated them to getting back a lost friend, which is quite sweet.
That is sweet. And I suppose it hasn't been going swimmingly, if you'll forgive my pun, for all the other Kent beaches. Tell us about the results around the rest of the county.
You're absolutely correct, Finn. The picture at Romney Marsh is a much more dire. It's not as positive as we heard from Lindsay earlier, I mean, even in Dymchurch, they've been rated poor for the second year in a row. Littlestone as well has had the lowest possible classification for 3 consecutive years. And local businesses are concerned, they're warning that they're struggling because tourists aren't coming in because of these lower ratings. I mean, today, Councillor Tony Cooper called the results disappointing, but very much encouraging visitors to still come to Dymchurch and not feel so concerned about these ratings.
Absolutely. And tell me, what does this mean for the wider water quality in Kent, and what's going to happen next based off of these results?
Well, the water quality across Kent very much varies. I mean, it was only last week where these tiny little plastic biobead, were seen around the coast of Romney Marsh and Eastbourne. But then you are seeing other spots where the water quality has very much improved. I mean, you've got Minster Lees and Herne Bay Central, and these results are incredibly encouraging. Updated results from the Environment Agency has seen that 95% of bathing water across Kent, across South London and across East Sussex is at a much higher standard compared to what they were last year. And so you can look at Deal and see that it's a major success story from last year to now. But then you look at places like Dymchurch and Littlestone, and there is pressure on political parties, political leaders and water companies to make changes ahead of next year's assessment.
I see. So some improvements, but still work to be done. Thank you so much for this story, Neela. Coming up after the break, we're going to speak to the regional leader of a movement calling for parents not to give in and buy their children and teens smartphones this Christmas. All that and more after this very short break. Hello and welcome back to Kent Tonight, live here on KMTV. Now, kids might be begging for smartphones this Christmas, but parents aren't buying it. New YouGov data show 2/3 think smartphones don't improve childhood. And today, Smartphone Free Childhood has launched a nationwide Christmas billboard campaign to raise awareness of the growing movement for the festive season. We spoke to Kent's regional leader at the movement, Felicity Winkles, earlier. Thank you so much for joining us, Felicity. First of all, could you please tell those watching what exactly Smartphone Free Childhood is and what the movement does?
So Smartphone Free Childhood is all about supporting parents to delay giving their sort of children, or parents and carers giving their children a smartphone, delaying that when they first buy, and helping parents just to hold out a little longer. So the movement was set up in 2024 by two parents just sort of speaking on the issue and just how worried they were, and by sort of storm, more parents joined the conversation, and in little over a year, we now have about 300,000 parents, carers, teachers, heads, doctors, all part of the movement, which is it's really sort of showing kind of momentum for what I think parents intrinsically know is that smartphones aren't designed for children.
I see. And you mentioned there smartphones not being designed for children. What are some of the benefits for younger children if they are smartphone or social media free?
The benefits for children on being smartphone free is being able to be one, kind of prolonging childhood, that outdoor play, doing things which children are meant to be doing, problem solving, going out, playing with friends, speaking, kind of real life interactions. And what we're finding, and what research is finding, that children who are given smartphones too early are often kind of looking, they're made to be addictive, and with that they're finding that behaviour is more irritable, problems sleeping, poor concentration, but also importantly, or sadly, missing out on those real life experiences with friends, all because actually the lure of a screen is so addictive, and other things which they used to enjoy doing, sort of pales in comparison. And I think adults know this. I know the amount of times, and I'm campaigning where I'm, really looking forward to reading a book, and, before bed, and I find myself on my phone, and, I don't want to be. And I think, that's as a, adults who have got, have fully, developed brains, that can sort of handle impulse, but still find the lure of smartphones, very, very addictive. So I think it's an unfair thing that to try and sort of ask children to have good, sort of phone use when they are designed to keep and profit from children's attention.
I see. And tell us a bit about the campaign you've launched. It's in partnership with the advertising company JC Dassault. What exactly are you calling for this Christmas, and how are you spreading the message?
Yeah, it's a really exciting campaign, and very kindly they gifted us this billboard campaign across the whole of the United Kingdom, which is absolutely fantastic. And what we're really asking, and this year we're really encouraging families to give the gift of a smartphone-free childhood, and at least for a little longer. So we've got billboards sort of showing very nostalgic kind of classic Christmas pictures that you might see on a Christmas card, but within it, within the background, there's sort of, you see the kind of smartphone lurking, and it just looks really out of place for a Christmas setting. And I think we just, it's asking, or it's trying to help parents sort of take a step and think, actually, it's the smartphone is, going to be on the top of my child's Christmas list. Do I want that? Childhood is short. Smartphones can wait, and it's to kind of get conversations started. We're encouraging. We have free Christmas cards which you can sign up for, be sent, and you can send it to MPs, teachers, people in your kind of community, just to kind of start the conversation about let's delay smartphone ownership. parents coming together, I think, is a really strong thing, and that's what the smartphone-free childhood movement's based on. It's really parents helping other parents and helping to delay.
Next, one of the biggest vets in Kent will be opening a state-of-the-art hydrotherapy suite to help pets recover from surgery and manage their health conditions. The new facility at Pennard Vets in Sevenoaks will provide a full range of rehabilitation and wellness services, with one-on-one treatment in the underwater treadmill. Henry, a 10-year-old Labrador who struggles with arthritis, is just one of many pets benefiting from the treatment. His owner, Gina Nicholson, said seeing him less stiff and more agile gives us confidence he's getting the best care possible. Now it's time to take a look at the sports from across the county with today's Sports Bulletin. For your first headline, we're going to take a look at county cricket, with Kent Spitfires' first match of the season being announced. They'll be heading to Middlesex to kick off their T20 campaign next May 22nd, only a few days before another double-header against Sussex Sharks at home on the 25th. The blast encounter could mark a return for batting all-rounder Jack Leaning after his departure to the Sharks this season. For the Kent women's team, their final group home game season face-off against the Northamptonshire Steelbacks on the 28th of June before visiting the Derbyshire Falcons on the 3rd of July. Next to football, and Folkestone Invicta manager Jay Saunders is saying he's loving working with the new midfielder Adam Lovat after their 4-2 victory over Cheshunt this weekend. The Isthmian Premier Club managed to sign Lovat after missing their chance in the close season, where he moved to #United before Invicta. Saunders said he's been excellent and that his goal on Sunday was outstanding, though he's not sure he'll get too many like that, but it's still a big bonus to have him on the squad. On the game against Cheshunt, Saunders added he was disappointed to concede the 2 goals. Next, news of a marathon, where Invicta East Kent Athletic Club have teamed up with the University of Kent as the Canterbury 10-mile road race takes a new route for 2026. The race will take place at the university's sports centre, and the institution will also hope to provide a team of runners to take part in the race. The new route will start and end outside the sports centre and will mainly be run along country lanes, making it traffic-free. Anyone who wants to enter can visit canterbury10.co.uk. Lastly, to tennis, where Kent Tennis's own Vanessa Webb has made the shortlist for Court Supervisor of the Year award at the All England Lawn Tennis and Croquet Club. The Association of British Tennis Officials' 25th anniversary saw 7 categories, where Webb, originally from Broadstairs, was the only Kent official to make any of the shortlists. Now, although she didn't win the award, she ranked in the top 3 among more than 1,000 supervisors across Great Britain. She said it was an honour to be nominated. That's all for your sports news today. Now, don't forget you can keep up to date with all your latest stories across Kent by logging on to our website, kmtv.co.uk. There you'll find all our reports, including this one about how Ramsgate is said to be the most deprived location in the county.
I would prefer it if we were saying which is the best town, which is the most interesting town.
More than 70 neighbourhoods across Kent now fall into England's top 10% most deprived. That's according to the Index of Multiple Statistics released last week by the government. I'm here in Ramsgate, which is the most deprived area in the whole county.
From hosting a bustling tourism industry in the summer, an impressive royal harbour and the largest Wetherspoons in England, Ramsgate clearly has a lot to offer. Over the last 6 years, several neighbourhoods here have shot up in national deprivation rankings.
We have very particular challenges in Thanet, partly because we're surrounded on 3 sides by sea. That makes some of the things that you would normally do for economic regeneration somewhat challenging. It also means that it's harder to encourage people to come and stay for work, because the travel to work area is more limited. And even though we've got the high-speed rail into London, that's expensive, and we don't therefore have the kind of connectivity, and particular local connectivity, that really helps people get the kind of jobs and opportunities that they need.
On Ramsgate High Street, it's hard to ignore how quiet it is. 1 in 4 shops are empty lots, but people here tell us it's a far cry from how they remember it.
All the shops seem to have moved out of the town. So to go shopping, there's very little choice here.
This is nothing like the high street that I remember, as a boy. Like many other high streets, it's declined.
You can see people coming in here trying to run businesses, they just can't afford it. They can't afford to heat the spaces. And I wish they got more breaks. I wish it was easier for people to use these stores.
Councillor John Davis is the shadow leader of Thanet District Council and represents Pegwell Ward in Ramsgate.
We need an opportunity for our youngsters who get some of the best educations in the country, let's remember, in this area. They have no choice but to join an exodus, to go elsewhere, and then hopefully one day to come back. I think what we need to do in order to protect and revive our community, and that's across this island as well as Ramsgate, is start to develop some pride in the place, but B, some policies that actually support regeneration and the creation of meaningful jobs.
While the stats may feel less positive, it is clear here people are proud of their area and are hopeful for change. Chloe Brewster for KMTV in Ramsgate.
Now it's time to take a look at the weather for the coming days. Well, tonight it's looking quite cold. Lowest temperature of 3 degrees down there in Royal Tunbridge Wells, highs of 6 in Margate. Tomorrow morning a bit more sunny, but a bit more cold as well. Same with 1 degree down there in Tunbridge Wells, but it's going to heat up into the afternoon, staying sunny, highs of 7 up there in Dartford. And here's your outlook for the rest of the week. Some varied weather here, but it looks like it's going to be raining on Friday with highs of 13 degrees, but sun will come out just in time for the weekend on Saturday. Up next, a recap of our top story. All that and more after this short break. Hello and welcome to Kent Tonight, live here on KMTV. I'm Finn McDermott and here are your top stories on Tuesday, the 25th of November. Lower the limit. Villagers call for reduced speed after thousands is spent on accident repairs to Hawkenbury Bridge. It's a knockout. Amateur boxing club in Maidstone celebrates revitalisation. And high praise for multi-million-pound church restoration in the heart of Chatham. But a look back first at our top story this evening. Fed-up villagers say it's appalling that more than £100,000 has been spent on bridge repairs for damage that they say could have been entirely preventable. Hawkenbury Bridge has been shut since November 5th and remains so while work goes underway to fix it. Our reporter Kristen Hawthorne spoke to one publican who says he's been losing £5,000 a week in trade as a result of the closure.
Through a Freedom of Information request, Kent Online found that £100,000 has been spent on repairs for the Hawkenbury Bridge over the past 5 years. Repairs that locals say could be prevented through a reduced speed limit or traffic calming measures. The Hawkenbury pub has been directly affected, with its owner, Jonathan Woodbridge, saying he's losing an estimated £5,000 a week in trade due to the continued road closures and ongoing speeding issues.
Virtually all of the damage is caused by motor cars travelling too fast, not lorries, not vans. The cost to the economy, the ball figures here are nothing compared to what it's actually costing everybody else, including us because we're closed. My own view is this could have been prevented in its totality, but this is actually scratching the surface in terms of what the true cost is.
During the summer, the pub faced a further blow to trade when a truck crashed into the front of the building. This incident prompted a petition for a reduced speed limit due to serious concerns over safety. Data shows that over the past 5 years, 94% of the repairs have been paid for by the taxpayer, leaving just 6% being covered by drivers responsible for the damage. In response to this data, a spokesperson for Kent County Council has said that repairs to Hawkenbury Bridge are essential for safety and that it seeks to recover costs from drivers responsible for damage, working with police to identify them. The council says both Headcorn and Staplehurst have listed the bridge as a priority, and while options like traffic lights have been explored, physical constraints have made smaller fixes unfeasible, though the site will continue to be reviewed. The Mayor of Maidstone Council gave me his perspective on the issue.
Unfortunately, the vast majority of traders, whether they're in services, products, businesses, artisan labourers, from electricians to plumbers, are all suffering from traffic chaos these days. And the trouble is they're suffering as businesses. Their margins are being hit. They've got increased costs. They've got fewer customers spending less. So everybody's being affected by their margins.
With the burden falling on taxpayers and businesses, and as calls for action grow louder, those affected are hoping that the worst is now behind them. But with the Christmas season well underway, many have fears that travel far beyond the road. Kristen Hawthorne for KMTV.
Next, a Maidstone woman who's partially sighted has warned parents not to buy e-scooters for their children this Christmas. Lucille Franks was walking through an underpass in the Fairmeadow area with her guide dog Mabel when she was almost knocked down. We spoke to her earlier.
I'm sure there are lots of people out there that don't realise they are actually illegal to ride in public places, full stop. So, you know, if there is any parent that are thinking of buying one for their child, there's very few parents that are going to have the space for the child to ride it privately. You know, they are going to be riding it illegally. And to also think about the speed. I was thinking, why e-scooters more than the other things? Well, it's because they're more frightening because of the speed. It's a far more frightening experience when you come across one. So to think about, should you be buying an e-scooter for your child this Christmas? Is that really appropriate? It's not a toy. You're buying your child something that if they ride it publicly could be taken from them. So just have a think whether it is really appropriate.
Now over to business and budgets. Tomorrow, Chancellor of the Exchequer Rachel Reeves will stand in the House of Commons and set out the government's tax and spending plans. But what can Kent businesses expect from the autumn budget, and how might her announcement affect them? Whether it's minimum wage, income tax, living wage, there's plenty of financial points that people might expect to see in this budget and that they might expect to be changed. Well, to find out more about this, we spoke to the Chief Executive of Kent Invicta Chamber of Commerce, Tudor Price, earlier for his opinion on what exactly this budget might entail, both nationally and here in Kent. Let's have a look. What do you estimate the overall mood of businesses here in Kent are ahead of the upcoming budget tomorrow?
Anxiety, I think, would probably be the word to use. There's obviously some deep concern. As soon as we saw this ill-fated pre-budget announcement, I think we saw all the brakes being applied to lots of business projects, investment, recruitment, and a whole host of other things. And statistically, we're starting to see the high street spend has started to slow down at the moment. Everyone's waiting to see exactly where this is going to land.
Now, among her announcements, Rachel Reeves is expected to lower the sugar content threshold at which the sugar tax applies. Do you think this could have an adverse effect on food and drink businesses here in Kent?
It's an interesting one, then, actually, because on one hand, the benefits of the sugar tax has sort of really been sort of proven out, if you like. It's been an incredibly effective piece of legislation which has made some huge improvements in sort of the health and obviously the cost of maintaining their health through the NHS. But yes, obviously there is an impact then to the businesses that are involved in hospitality and consumer spend. What will normally happen is the businesses will take an initial hit and then they will very quickly adapt and overcome. But I think we've probably seen for quite a long time now that actually the sugar tax is something that is working. And I think most businesses will have half an eye on this as a possible outcome and will have some sort of contingency plan in place.
What could this mean for some people, especially following the kind of national insurance rise that happened back in April? Do you foresee any big challenges there for people?
Yeah, so the business community took quite a punch on the national insurance contributions, and that is still being impacted. The impact of that's still being felt now. So employers were expecting some sort of trade-off here. There was always an expectation that, okay, employers are going to sort of take the hit here, carry the burden initially, but there'll be further investment or opportunities for those businesses to grow and do all its purposes, recoup those losses. We haven't really seen much in the last year, and of course there has been all sorts of speculation about capital gains tax, about sort of further increases on thresholds and VAT. All of these things are causing that uncertainty. It was a big hit last year. Most employers have slowed their plans down, certainly chosen not to expand or take on additional staff. We've seen a lot of businesses working to try and improve their existing productivity and sort of resources that they have without recruiting. That's then led to a number of other issues around growing unemployment. So all of these things sort of play a part. Now, what we're worried about is that the Chancellor will think that actually there's more to be had from the business community in terms of taxes or contributions, and there just isn't. If growth is the key to economic survival and prosperity, then they've had all they can really take from the business community, and they need to be looking elsewhere to try and address, obviously, this fiscal shortfall that they're trying to fill.
The Chancellor is also expected to raise the living wage for workers aged 20 and over. Could you explain the difference between the minimum wage and the living wage?
So the two are pretty much the same now, to be honest with you. There was a change in legislation where the two are pretty much the same. There was, a while ago, there was an aspirational figure that actually, in terms of raising the quality of life and standards, various governments said there should be a living wage, which would be sort of the sort of thing which would be reflect local cost basis. So if you're in the middle of London or in certain parts of the north of England, there might be different sort of cost bases. So the living wage was very much part of that ambition. The national minimum wage has been moving up gradually over time, and it's taken a bit of a leap forward in the last budget and will continue to do so in this budget. And it's the stated aim of the government that they want to see it to get to sort of between £14 and £15. So the sort of living wage isn't really relevant anymore. It's all about moving to that sort of that alignment where there is just one basic national minimum wage.
Right. There are also reports the Chancellor will not be raising income tax rates. I'm being told this is coming as a surprise. Well, why is this?
Well, it's coming as a surprise, I guess, because there was this suggestion a few weeks ago that that's exactly where that revenue is going to come. Now, there's two elements to this. There's obviously in terms of sort of the high street side of things, there is the consumer spend, income tax rise. As I mentioned before, consumer spend is a significant part of the economic GDP. When you start to impact people's pound in their pocket, they tend to sort of hold on to that cash, and that obviously has an immediate impact on spending in the high street and so forth. Interestingly, we in the UK here are currently saving more than the US. We actually have more people here sat on savings than many other European countries. So there is capital in the system. The anxiety about is what's going to change, what's coming forward. And I think what the Chancellor saw was that they said that actually it was the better than improved economic figures made them change their mind. But I think most of us can see through that smokescreen and realise there was a political pushback, and they decided not to raise income tax to try and avoid upsetting their own party and their own electorate. Where they're going to try and find that money from to fill that sort of £30 billion of fiscal gap, I don't know. And that, of course, raises in a whole load of anxiety and question marks moving forward.
Right, up next after the break, how a missing man was found by police officers in 20 minutes with new cutting-edge technology. And we'll also hear from an ambassador who's one of 16 from across the UK chosen to use their voices to speak up against misogyny. All that and more after this short break. Hello and welcome back to Kent Tonight, live here on KMTV. Now, released footage has shown how an unwell man in a field was found by officers in 20 minutes with a thermal imaging drone. Police were called near Canterbury on November 9th at 5:50 p.m. after a man in his 70s called 999. The man was having a suspected medical episode and described to emergency staff over the phone that he was in a rural area. Police quickly launched a drone by 6 p.m. to search the surrounding fields, after which the man was soon safely located. Chief Inspector Adam Duke said cutting-edge technology like this allows us to respond faster and more effectively to keep our community safe. Next, an environmental protection officer is among 16 photographed for a national portrait series highlighting the men who are speaking up to help end men's violence against women. Martin Matthews, who works for Sevenoaks District Council here in Kent, is featured in We Speak Up, a collaboration between the national charity White Ribbon UK and photographer Claudia Jank. We spoke to the 52-year-old earlier.
I've always been very anti any kind of inequality. Be that for whatever reason. But I also have a real passion to make a difference and be a positive change in the world. I mean, that's why I do the work I do, but also it's why I'm involved in something like this, because I can be that voice, I can be that change, and change doesn't always have to be a big thing. It starts with small conversations. So just by me being an ambassador and having those conversations with people, challenging behaviour, challenging things that are said, it makes a difference. And, you know, it's not about blame, it's about education, you know, and changing behaviours and changing viewpoints.
Next, a derelict church in Chatham has been given a new lease of life as part of a £4 million regeneration project. The Diocese of Rochester teamed up with Medway Council and other organisations to bring the 200-year-old St John's Church back into use. The hope is for the space to become a vital community asset for everyone, regardless of religion. Our local democracy reporter, Ollie Leader, has more.
And I have one deeply theological word to share with you right at the start.
The words of the Bishop of Rochester echoing the feelings of a room that made a multi-million-pound Medway restoration project possible. St John's Chatham was built to commemorate the Battle of Waterloo back in the 1800s. But by the 90s, the building had fallen into disrepair, left to rot just off Chatham High Street, in an area of high demand for affordable housing.
What we really were lacking was a place of art for Chatham. A place that people of Chatham have loved, have been married in, had their funerals in, had parties in. It's got so much history and so much meaning for so many people that it would be wrong if we had turned it into flats. And frankly, when we asked people what they wanted us to do with it, they said we'd like it to be a church, and that's what we've done.
Work to bring the building back to life began in 2017, with organisations like the Heritage Fund and Medway Council pulling together to bring a community asset back to life.
This wasn't one organisation, it was a partnership approach. It really was a One Medway approach to bring forward something which again is magnificent and really does inspire people. 200 years ago, it was the first public building to get electricity, and now it's shining as an actual beacon of hope 200 years later for the people of Medway.
St John's is an expensive capital project, costing £4 million. Is this really the best use of that cash?
Now on Sunday mornings we're regularly over 100 people. Whether that's value for money, I don't really know, but the truth is that the reach of this place beyond those that might be coming in here to worship, actually the difference that it's made in individuals' lives, the difference that it's made for families who are really struggling with their children. 80 or so people that we've had come through our community football project, many of whom were vulnerably housed or at risk of addiction. So it's really hard to quantify, but we know that we're just at the beginning of a story where ultimately we will see far more than just value for money through what's been invested in this place.
There you have it. Perhaps you can't put a price tag on history. especially if that history is now set to help people into the future for years to come. Ollie Leader in Chatham.
Now, don't forget you can keep up to date with all your latest stories from across Kent by logging on to our website, kmtv.co.uk. There you'll find all our reports, including this one.
Imagine spending 2 weeks injecting yourself with hormones before undergoing a surgical procedure, all while needing to go to work as usual. This was the experience of Canterbury resident Olivia France, who has donated her eggs twice this year.
2 weeks of injecting sort of twice a day with the different hormones, and then you'd book in for your procedure. I had to go up to London for that. So that was going up early morning, having the procedure, which was just a day procedure under sedation, and then sort of they check you a couple of hours later, then just head home.
1 in 153 children in the UK are conceived using donors. And yet, there are no legal rights around seeking fertility treatment and therefore no paid leave by law for those like Olivia with extra appointments and circumstances. She feels this needs to change.
Do I take sick leave? Is there paid leave for this? And I found it quite a difficult one to navigate, sort of reading all the procedures and policies and going through all the fine print of like, well, where do I actually fall in and can I take, paid leave for this or not? And absolutely, I think it is something that women should be allowed paid leave for.
But for employers, is implementing robust company policy for those like Olivia a viable option?
The answer really is that employers are often reluctant to give rights where they don't exist in law from fear of creating precedents and, sort of perhaps enabling someone to ask for time off for a different reason, to point at an individual and say, well, you allowed for time off on, that occasion for someone's IVF treatment. Why can't you allow me paid time off for, let's say some other.
For Olivia, who donates some eggs to a clinic and freezes the rest for a possible future, and for others undergoing IVF treatments, the movement might be about more than just pay.
It is a shame that we are not understanding this big change in the society, because we all should look at women in a different way now. We should give them the freedom to get pregnant when they think is the right time for them. And they need to be supported, and it shouldn't be a way to hide themselves.
With the government's Employment Rights Bill in its final stages, and with its emphasis on a flexible working environment, this could be fertile ground for the kind of change these advocates might want to see. Megan Shaw for KMTV in Canterbury.
Now it's time to take a look at the weather for the coming days. Looking cold down there in Royal Tunbridge Wells on a partly cloudy night this evening. Highs of 6 up there in Margate. Into tomorrow morning looking sunny all around. Some low temperatures there in Royal Tunbridge Wells again. Then into tomorrow afternoon getting slightly warmer. Lots of sun all around. Highs of 7 in Dover and Dartford. And here's your outlook for the rest of the week. 12 degrees there on Thursday with some rain on Friday. Cooling slightly, but sun coming out for the weekend on Saturday. Looks like it'll be good for the weekend. Now, after the break, there'll be a new episode of News Nuggets covering important topics all across Kent for primary school aged children. News Nuggets tackles stories about local politics and democracy and allows our younger generation to explore the importance of their local area. From elections to food waste to who runs our sports clubs. Each episode takes a deep dive into anything and everything about how our country runs. Here's a sneak peek into episode 4.
This week we'll be learning about sport and exercise.
I certainly feel happier after I've scored a few goals.
That's actually called a hoop.
Oh, all right, I'll leave it to the experts then. Ollie, what's the warm-up?
Bit of a pulse raiser. Ready for a run?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Do we have to like really run?
Why is sport so important?
Sport's important for me, for my mental health, and I like to keep fit.
For me, sport's really important as a young person, as it keeps you active and it keeps you outside, and it's also very engaging and it helps you learn.
As we have a Chelsea goalkeeper with us. Let's see who can get a goal past there. What do we think?
Yeah.
Right, let's go. Your teachers are about to have a go. How does sport keep you healthy then? What's the science?
Well, when you play sport, what happens is that your heart starts to increase its heart rate. Then it carries oxygen, which means you need your lungs. And the more you play sport, you increase the ability to carry oxygen to the muscles.
Food is so important as well. And if you're not having a balanced and healthy diet full of different food groups, then it can be harder to exercise. Different foods work together to give you energy. So it's important to eat as healthy as you can every day. That way you'll feel better for longer. And remember to drink lots of water too. We got the chance to find the best seats in the whole stadium.
Do you have a celebration when you score?
Hello News Nuggets, it's Joe Wicks, the body coach here. Thank you so much for coming down to report on my visit.
Today we have 4 guests who are going to tell us why they think sports and exercise are so important.
Just because you're disabled, it doesn't mean you can't do things that you enjoy.
What keeps me fit and dedicated is the thought that I have to be better than I was yesterday.